Welcome back to Burn the Ship, the podcast we connect entrepreneurs, professionals to help you go all in on your business. I'm your host, Ezra Brown, and without further ado, I'm going to allow my guest to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Paige O'Neill, the founder of Musical Charities, which is a nonprofit.
Awesome, Paige. Thank you so much for joining us, taking time out of your day to come over here and sit down, talk
Thank
a little
you.
bit about your life story and kind of how you've came about with Musical Charities, and a little bit about your other endeavors. Paige, give us a story, kind of how this come about.
Oh, gosh. How far back do you want me to go?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Really, this entrepreneur spirit, nonprofit is essentially, it's a business, it's an entrepreneurship that you kind of got to go into. Starting everything's tough, starting to get out of bed in the morning is not easy for people, But what kind of got you in that entrepreneur spirit to see this is something that you wanted to do?
Probably my parents. I'd have to go way back to the example they set to get involved in your community. They were in a different type of volunteer working, in the community. I wasn't interested in that.
Right.
Politics.
Not at all.
But I was interested in animals and got my degree in vet teching. So I worked at vet clinics, and then I got into rescue. And then I founded Mostly Mutts Animal Rescue because I worked with a nonprofit. I was the manager of an animal shelter.
Okay.
And I thought, I can do this better.
Right.
So I just said, I'm going to do it myself. So.
Okay.
Started with Mostly Mutts Animal Rescue, did that for 10 years, retired from that, and went into a business of actually making money because I was boarding dogs. And then some friends of mine, big-time wonderful musicians and songwriters, but terrible promoters.
Yeah.
And I'm a great promoter, terrible musician.
I think you're pretty decent at that.
Thank you. And so I just started Musical Charities, and I just wanted to help the community and help people and help animals still.
Absolutely. I love that. So what would you say is, one of the things that you say you've been able to lean on through the time of, all this whole journey of entrepreneurship and with these nonprofits? What is something you've been able to lean on that you've been really well at,
It's just really dependent on other people.
Okay.
Other people showing up to events, other people contributing. It's just really all about people helping people. I can't do it by myself.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how would you say that you've, I've been around you, so I know, but, elaborate to them is what would you say is kind of that trait that kind of helps keep that going, that where you can get people to show up or where you can be out there in the community
because
to do
I
that.
ask them.
Absolutely.
And that's what I learned from my mother.
Okay.
We had a neighbor come into our house one time, and he gave my mother a $20 bill. And she said, "What's this for?" And he goes, "I don't know. You're going to ask me for $20 for some kind of fundraiser that you're having, so I don't even want to know. Here's $20. And I learned through that. I watched my mom fundraise, and I watched her dedication and the hard work. She, mailing out mailers, and I licked a lot of envelopes when I was a kid. I mean, literally thousands of envelopes, and organizing fundraisers, going to all her fundraisers, and it was just instilled as a child. And some people turn opposite. They can't stand to ask people for money or to show up, but I do. And it's very clear that every single person I meet wants to help other people.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants
human
to help.
nature.
They just don't know how to help. And, you can send your money into the Red Cross, and that's helping people, but you don't really know where your money's going, but it is helping people, it's giving.
Absolutely.
And I just prefer that people give to local, charities that are legitimate.
Absolutely. And then... you're dang right. But, with that being said, you said that kind of you guys give songwriters in a platform to where that you can help promote them. But how did it come about that you wanted to do Musical Charities in that way? Because how you donate your money is definitely different than most charities. I very, very much so do support how you do that. But what made you want to do it that way, and what made you want it to be the music side?
Well, I'm a songwriter and a very amateur songwriter, and I started to take workshops, and I started to meet other songwriters that were either ex-touring, they were on the tour.
Right.
One of my best friends now was a Grammy-nominated
That's awesome.
singer.
That's awesome.
And she's a great songwriter, and she just didn't know how to promote herself. So she and I came together and said, how can we help each other? I just, and live music is not hard to sell. People love live music. But I have always been an independent, and I've employed myself. I've always been self-employed, most all the time. And as a tennis pro for 35 years, if I wasn't on the tennis court, I didn't have a paycheck.
Right.
So I was very fortunate to never have had an accident, a disease, disability. So I could always be on the court and make a living. But a lot of my tennis pro friends, something happens, there goes their income. And so I've always kind of lived like this far from drowning in finances.
Right.
And once in a while, my parents would send me a check and they'd say, here's a few $100. Don't pay bills with it. Go out and buy yourself stuff. Right. And I said, thank you, but I'm paying bills because I'm always this close to drowning.
Right.
And I think a lot of people live like that, and I want to help them. I really want to help. And if we can pay a gas bill, an electric bill, a car payment,
right?
We can't do a lot.
Yeah.
But
you never know. You never know what $500, $1,000 can do for somebody's life. $200 can change somebody's life today.
Right.
$20 really could change somebody's life today, just today.
Right.
And that's what I always say whenever I interview people before the podcast. I always say is like success perspective. It could be 50 cents for me today, and it could be 50,000 for you today. It's just where you're at in that time and point in time in your life. But how did it come that you knew? Because there just comes a time when that's what you want to do.
I did not know this is what I wanted to do.
Really?
I just let God take me through my journey. I'm like, where are we going next, God?
Really?
I never, when I went to vet tech school, I wanted to work with animals. I knew that.
Right.
But I only did vet teching for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I loved what I did at first. I worked at an emergency clinic. Loved it, but the hours were tough. So when I went to a daytime clinic, I worked with a crook of a veterinarian. And I quit. Yeah. And that's when I started teaching tennis. I didn't know I was going to be a tennis pro. It's just I had no job when I quit, and I didn't want to go back to teching.
Yeah.
And then I just happened to adopt a dog 10 years later, whatever, that needed a microchip. And DeKalb Humane Society, or that's what it was called at the time. It's called Paws Atlanta now.
Okay.
They were having a microchip clinic. So I took my dog over there and got a microchip, and they said, hey, in 10 minutes, we're starting our once a month volunteer orientation meeting. Would you like to sit in on it?
Got you.
Put my dog in the car, and I sat in on this meeting, and a year later, I was the director of the place.
Got you. They roped you in.
I didn't anticipate doing that.
Right.
But that introduced me to rescue, and then that's where I found my passion for animals.
That's awesome.
I knew I wanted to work with animals, but I didn't like the vet teching, you know?
That makes sense. It's kind of, I guess it could be a depressing way to see animals sometimes.
It was boring. Once you leave the emergency clinic, which is exciting, you know?
Always.
Then you go to a regular clinic, and it was just boring. There's very little, there's nothing to do. Like, there's no growth. Once you're vet tech, you're vet tech. There's no growth. And the money wasn't very good.
Right.
And so what a great career teaching tennis, you know. But I never knew where I was going. I never planned any of this. I never planned on being on stage and singing songs. I would have bet you $10,000 I would never get on a stage and play a song.
Really? That's so insane. Yeah. I guess the world's crazy. Actually, I could say that I'd never imagined myself giving elevator pitches a couple times a week. Ever.
There you go.
Never thought I was going to be doing that. In school, whenever they told me I was going to be doing that, I looked at my teacher and you're insane.
Not me.
You're insane, lady. Whatever. And nope, she was completely correct. I did one 3 days into working here. I was like, yeah, it's awesome. Wasn't very good at it, though, at first.
Yeah.
But no, what would you say is kind of, you come from a sports background, tennis, big tennis player, softball, if I'm not mistaken. What would you say a lot of that has attested to, like, your determination, and making sure that you are successful in doing what you do through time?
Well, yeah, I was a great tennis player, but I was a pretty bad competitor. There's a big difference between hitting a tennis ball and playing a point.
Right.
Again, I tried the pro tour, but mentally I didn't have it.
Right.
And that, again, I credit it to God saying, I don't want you to go on the tour, and I really didn't want to.
Right.
But I tried it. It redirected me into, my choice was to go on the tour or go to vet tech school. So I tried the tour for one summer. I played well.
Right.
But I went to vet tech school.
Yeah.
So I think sports prepare you for life, They prepare you to win and to lose and to, work hard and practice. And it's sport, me. Sports is just life.
Absolutely.
It's all parallel to life.
Absolutely. And we say that same thing in here all the time. That's what our owners both are like. We're not hiring anybody that's not an ex-athlete to do the sales side anymore, just because it's easy. We're trained to go, because we're trained to listen to people our entire life and doing that, but you're also trained to build your own thought process as being that way, as being an athlete. Like later on in your career, as you know, the longer you go, the more freedom you get in athletics. Like they're not looking over your shoulder worried about it. They're just worried about if you show up to the game and practice.
Yeah.
Everything else is just go. And it's completely on you. And if you're doing good, that means that you typically were doing the right things possibly, or you were just getting away with it.
That's right.
And I got away with it a lot.
Yeah. Well, sports is all strategic. Everything's strategy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a great athlete.
Right.
You don't have to be a great athlete to play tennis. But if you know the strategy of the game and you're playing against an athlete, you can beat them.
And you're using this big old grape right here.
And if one strategy doesn't work, you change and you go to a different strategy. That's all business. That's all business. And then I realized, okay, I think I really am a businesswoman. That's what I discovered later in life is, who knew?
Right. Yeah.
I think my parents just thought, they begged me to go to college.
Right.
I didn't want to go to college,
Right.
And they said they just probably thought I was going to marry and have kids and be supported the rest of my life, and that's not what happened.
No. But what would you say, because you kind of led me into this question is, what's been the, the toughest parts of it going through it is, as going through nonprofits is, it's not an easy thing to start some, as I said earlier, but what has been some of the tough things that you've had to hurdle, through the time?
Well, with animal rescue, mostly mutts, it was all emotional. It was 24/7. You never had a day off. And animals come to you sick, abused, neglected, unwanted, unvetted. And you were always going to the vet clinic. You're dealing with life or death. And you're dealing with dogs that are unadoptable. But you see the worst. You see the worst neglect. You think about how anybody could treat an animal that way. And then you see the best because somebody adopts that animal, and gives it a happy home. Yeah. So it's really difficult because it's very emotional. Music is not emotional.
Right. Yeah. And
it's not life or death.
What's been the kind of the struggles with Musical Charities, as you've been going through, what's kind of been some of the hardships y'all have had?
The struggles on that, I don't like to use the word struggles. The difficult part is once an event's over, you got to start on the next event. It's never ending. You got, and you got to keep raising money. It's raising money. It's getting people to support you. Everybody will give me a $10 bill, but will they give me $10 every month?
Right.
And that's all I ask. I just say $10,
know? And that's doable, very doable.
And just keep supporting me. And again, I know people want to help other people, but they've never been asked to help. They've never thought about it the way I think about it, and they always think they don't have enough money to help. If somebody gives me a $5 bill, that thrills me. Somebody gives me $100, that thrills me too, but not any more than somebody giving me $5 saying, here, I support you. When I had mostly mutts, my car was wrapped with animal rescue. Literally, people would come up that I don't know. I'm getting out of my car to go into the grocery store, and they give me $20 and say, I love what you do. They don't even know what I do. I could put that money in my pocket and go buy beer in the grocery store.
Absolutely.
But the trust, that when people give me money and they trust me.
Right.
And that's why I donate the way I donate, because I want people to know their money is trusting.
Absolutely. Tell the people, tell them, because you said it right there. Tell the people kind of what you guys do with y'all's donations at Musical Charities.
Yeah. Well, we'll help an individual person, a family, a small business, privately owned business, a charity, veterans. We'll help people that need help,
Right.
but we never give them money. We only purchase an item for them, or we pay a bill. So a lot of single moms, we've paid electric bills. All they have to do is get me the account. I call the electric company, and I pay the bill.
Yep.
I don't give the lady $200 to go pay her electric bill.
Right, because you don't know where that money's actually going to go. You don't know what it's going to get used
Exactly.
to. Absolutely.
And of course, a lot of people are legitimate and will pay their bill, but I know many times people haven't. So there was a family of 6 children. They were living in an RV with no heat, no air. And we can't do a lot, but we got them a $1,000 gift card to Costco. And I went with them to give them the card, and they had to shop right then and there. So they couldn't go sell the card, but wasn't an option for them.
Right.
They were so grateful.
Right.
And they can buy a portable heater with that $1,000, or they can buy cereal or milk. They can buy whatever they want. But I can't tell you how grateful they were for that $1,000. That was huge.
I could only imagine. And what kind of made y'all go with that model to pay somebody's bill as opposed to giving them cash or giving it?
I don't know.
To, what kind of made you guys go with that model? I just don't want to give people money
if they're not going to spend it. I just don't trust people with money.
Look, everybody's got their reason for everything.
Well, sometimes there's a reason that people are financially strapped. And we don't really help the homeless, We don't give money and do the homeless. These are people who have jobs,
right?
Who are doing great, working hard, have good attitudes, and they just need a little help.
Right.
Well, if you have a job and you're doing great and you're working hard, maybe you're a little financially irresponsible, maybe. You
I don't disagree.
Too big of a cell phone. I don't know.
Too big of a TV on the wall, or too nice of a car, or it could be past life history.
Right. So I don't judge where your money goes, but my money is not going to go there. My money is going to go to keep your lights on, your electric lights on.
I love that. No, I think it's awesome because most places do just give cash out, and then you don't know what's going to happen with it because that person.
Well, the government gives you cash. Look how that's working.
Yeah, that person could be an addict or something, and you give them cash flow, and that could be the thing that throws them back into the ring of fire that they were in.
Well, that's a good point.
Something
I never
in
thought
that,
of that.
and I that's why I was asking. I didn't know if that's something that had ever happened before, to where, because I love that that's how y'all do that. Because before we came in contact, every nonprofit I've ever seen, that was just like, here's this or here's that, not actually going to do a service for somebody that's helping them, because giving cash will help anybody, but is it going to help them, over the next 3 months, or could it set them back for 3 months for doing that?
Yeah. Well, if we came up with a charity, if a charity approached me that helps the homeless, then we'll help that charity. We'll pay a bill for that charity so they can help the homeless.
Absolutely.
See?
Yeah.
So we can help anybody, anytime, as long as it's not political or some other categories that we don't support, but that we support, but we don't. We don't financially support.
And then over the last few years, what's been the main ways y'all have been growing Musical Charities? A lot of word of mouth stuff, but what have you done? Besides networking, posting.
A miracle
what have you
happened.
Done? Yeah,
a miracle happened that I bought my house to have music events at. I have a beautiful home. I have 13 acres.
Beautiful spot.
And we had some great events. I brought in Nashville musicians, and we had super wonderful events. But unfortunately, weather. I don't have a plan B.
Right.
And we got rain, and freezing temperatures, and all kinds of weather. And
got Georgia weather.
Georgia weather, yeah. And you never know what it's going to be like. So I really got upset with what am I going to do? We looked into purchasing tents, $2,000, and what if you don't need a tent? Then you waste, or renting a tent, and so I looked at building something. Just the money it wouldn't have been smart.
Right.
So one day I'm doing a dog training class in somebody's house, and I gave them my card at the very end with Musical Charities. I said, "Do y'all like live music?" And they go, "Depends." And we started talking a little bit, and he goes, "What do you do for a venue?" And I said, I normally use my house, but I'm actually looking for a venue. I looked at a place right attached to Olive Tree.
Really?
Yeah, but it was tiny.
The spot that Harry just bought? Or
no, it was around the corner.
Okay.
There's a salon there now. And he said, "Well, I think I might have a venue for you." I'm like, what? And he said, "Our church wants to bring music in, and we have literally, it's a venue. It's not, the church is over across the parking lot.
Right.
This was built for concerts.
Yeah.
And it has a stage and a built-in sound system and a roll-up door so you can go indoor and outdoor. And they said you can use it they said, "We want music in this building and we want Musical Charities to bring it in." So
sold.
Yeah, no charge. So now we have events every fourth Friday. And that's our fundraisers every fourth Friday, and we have food, $10 to get in, food, live music, and then we normally do a sign auction or a raffle to raise money, and we pick a beneficiary. And last month we honored a woman named Natalie, and she passed away at 53 years old about a month prior. And her favorite charity was a farm animal sanctuary. So we were able to raise about $2,200 for that night.
That's awesome.
So we are going to buy feed for horses, cows, things like that, sheep.
All their stuff.
So that has been a turning point because the church the Presbyterian church that meets there every Sunday morning, they have supported us so much. They love what we do. They come to our events. I can always count on approximately 30 people that night. So at least we have people in the audience.
Right.
Then, hopefully, if we pick a beneficiary, they can bring their people. But that's the most difficult thing, is getting people to come. Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy. And Friday night at 5:30, traffic and all. But, on your way home, 5:30, $10. You get food and a show. You be home by 8:30.
Swing in, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Bring your kids. It's kid friendly. There's no alcohol, and it's just wonderful. And we kind of have two parts of the evening. Is from 5:30 to about 6:15. We have, I call it guest artist. I don't care if it's a 10-year-old kid who wrote a poem. Right. They can have stage time.
Right.
They can get up there, and it's kind of an introduction for stage time.
Absolutely. It's something they'll remember forever.
Yes. Somebody who doesn't sing well can get up and sing a song, especially a song they wrote. So it's stage time for, I don't like to use the word amateurs, but it's mostly amateurs. But some professionals have done it. Right. And then we have normally a featured artist, or we don't normally do bands. Not that we won't do a band, but so a group is okay, but not normally a big old dance band,
Right, I got you, yeah, but their entourage and everybody.
So, like, the four of us played the other day, and Kelly Williams, so she would sing a song that she wrote or chose as a cover. And then after that song was over, Ron Caird, who's a songwriter, we would all play on his song, and then I would do a song either that I cover or and I like to do sing-alongs. I like to do fun songs that people know.
Involves the crowd.
Yes, yeah. I tell people, get your phones out and Google the lyrics to "Gentle on My Mind" or "These Boots Are Made for Walking" or whatever. And or I do an original, and then everybody plays. And then Randy Gardner, he just joined us. He's a bass player, and he played with what's the group? Honey and Oats or something like that, which was
and then we had a
Milk and Honey.
We had the guest a couple Fridays ago that played the fiddle.
Yeah, he just broke his leg as he's in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
Be praying
Keith,
for him.
if you're thinking about you,
brother.
Yeah.
Is that the fiddle, or is it it is fiddle that he was playing, wasn't it? Or violin?
Violin. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's just how you play it.
Shows you how much I know about music.
No, I know.
Not a ton.
You don't. If in bluegrass you call it a fiddle. Country music, it's a fiddle.
And then a violin and classical.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
But yeah.
What would you say is kind of like your plan moving forward for Musical Charities? What does that next 5 years look for you guys?
Wow, if I had my wish, I'd love to take it nationwide.
Okay.
Get more people involved. But I'm kind of lazy these days, and I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I got to find the energy to ask other people to do it.
Right.
One of the things that I really want to keep reiterating is 100% of the people I know are going to have birthdays within the next year.
Yep. Yeah.
And I just want to try to get people to have a birthday party for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
But pick a beneficiary. You get to pick a beneficiary, and let's have a little fundraiser and ask for no gifts, you know, no gift cards. You don't need a gift card to, you know, a wings place.
No,
you know?
not at all.
And just ask everybody to, you know, and get everybody to give. There's a lot of people that still don't know how to give. And I'll tell you that one of the most precious things ever, especially when I worked with Mostly Mutts, every single solitary Saturday we would be at Barrett Parkway PetSmart. And it was very stressful. And all of a sudden, a little 8-year-old kid would show up with a bunch of stuff, you know, like dog bones and bowls and leashes and collars, or a PetSmart gift card. And they dedicated their birthday to Mostly Mutts. That meant more to me than anything in the world. It's awesome. Teaching people how to give and not just take.
Right.
And kids have everything they want. They have everything they need. And we just keep giving them more and more and more. And if they don't learn, giving is a learned thing. Because people are selfish.
It's absolutely a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior. And you don't have to give much. You know, I was listening to Ivan Meisner on the way over here, and he said, give from your saucer and not your cup. So your cup is what you live on. But the more you are successful, it's going to run over and spill onto your saucer. And that money right there, you don't need to spend. You need to give.
Absolutely.
You know? Kind of like that idea.
No, I love it because that's that, and then it kind of goes along with a guy named Stephen Covey. He says, "Seek to understand, not to be understood."
Yeah, absolutely.
So hear them out, you know, hear people out. They'll tell you all the problems they need that they got, and then you should be able to solve it because they'll tell you, you know, if you ask them about themselves enough, they'll give you all the information you need. And I was like, man, that's the best thing I've heard all year. Dang it.
Yeah. And if I can not mess this up, Ronald Reagan's quote on, "You make a living on what you earn or what you get. You make a living on what you get. You make a life on what you give." I
like that.
Yeah, and that was on a coffee cup. Sorry. That was on a coffee cup, a mug that sat above our kitchen sink. It was Ronald Reagan's quote. And every time I was washing dishes and doing dishes, that was in my mind.
So it's ingrained in you now.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I got instilled from my parents, you know, is it's really about giving.
Absolutely.
Think about it. Think about if people would give more.
I think about it because I'm a very giving person. I always have been. Like, I've almost to a fault for a long time to where I was like, man, I gotta quit doing that. You know what I mean? It's just because I'm a nice guy, but was very hot-headed for a long time in my life where I had to calm down a little bit through college where I was like, yeah, I gotta quit doing that. And I got my name's on the line of the school. I wear it across my chest all the time. So I was like, maybe you should calm down. But it just started, you know, learning like, man, it's not really that deep. Just don't give them that amount of time. You know, you can still give, but understand what you're giving to what you're going to get in return from most people. Like, you know, if you're going to give something, expect something in return, understand who you're giving it to. You know, that's my thing, but it's also that.
So are you saying you had like a little temper tantrums?
Just a hot head. Like it was either like
during sports.
No, I was never bad about it during sports. Just off field stuff. Like if I give something to somebody or give time, like here I'm gonna help you do your homework or something. I'm gonna help you do this, that, and I ain't gonna get nothing in return. Like here I did this for you, and then I'm gonna call you 2 weeks later if I need something, and then you're not gonna do it. That next thing I know, I'm on your doorstep, and you're not gonna have fun. You know, that was me, and I was like, I can't do this. So I stopped giving as much, and then I got back to it more towards it since I've been out in the real world now, just because it's the way. That's just how I've always been my whole life. Give, and take care of people. Like friends at school, I'd take them to school. I was like, screw it, you can't get there, I'll come get you. Yeah. I had a kid I took to and from high school. Kevin, if you're listening to this. But I watched him walk home one day, and I was like, man. And I was the high school prom king, the guy, and there was just a nerdy little kid that was walking down the road, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna pick you up.
Sweet.
I seen him, and I was like, man, get in the car. And he's like, no, man, I'm good. My house is only up here. I said, get in my car. It's raining. Get in the car. I'm taking you to your house. He's like, all right, it's up here. The house is 2 miles from where he was at, and he
Aw.
said it's right up here. I get there, and I was like, hey, man, go to my car every day and go sit in my car. If I'm not outside, it's because I'm inside talking or doing something. I will be out here. And if I'm not coming, the car beside you is my best friend, and he will take you home. And if he doesn't, I'll make sure he takes you home. And then so Kevin started going to my car, and I was like, here's my number. Call me if I'm not out there, and I'll tell you if I'm doing something after school or something.
That's beautiful.
Because we got out of school early, so I was like, he'd call me like, oh, go home with Merrick beside the car right now, and he'd go get in the truck with him, go home. But I definitely like probably changed that kid's perspective a little bit too, but it changed mine too, because I was same type of kids that I was standoffish, just like, I can't be around that guy, just for thinking your image as a young kid, you know, just like I'm all this and that, and you're not, you know what I mean? You think you are, but you're not.
It's funny that you're saying this, because I just started on a new song yesterday, and it's called, well, it's probably not going to end up being called this, but in the line it's going to be, you're the definition of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's about, helping the weak and respecting the strong.
Mm-hmm.
And a real man doesn't hurt the weak. They don't
absolutely not
come down on the weak. They help the weak, and they're not jealous of the strong.
Absolutely not.
They respect the strong.
Absolutely.
So I hope that song comes to fruition.
Love that, because that is something I've always stood and lived by. I've always like, I definitely wasn't going to hang out with them outside of school, but it was one of those things where I've always taken care of those, like the kids that were on the school baseball team with me. They know this, and I know y'all are watching and listening. But those same kids were the kids I bullied, because you're not going to sit there and talk down to somebody else because you aren't what you want to be. You know, I'm going to make sure you hate your life if you're going to do that to somebody else. I will do that to you. And that was always like a group of people that I hung out with, and it was always very similar. Like, none of my friends bullied people, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Yes.
And if they did, we probably
aren't
friends with them. You know what I mean? We do need to bring back bullying too. That does need to come back. Kids are getting messed up nowadays. But no, Paige, we'll segue this to the last thing though, is burn the ship. You know where we got the quote for burn the ship for the name of our podcast.
No.
All right. Central American key store Hernan Cortez lands in modern-day Mexico. He thought he landed on Plymouth Rock because he thought he was doing good. But lands in modern-day Mexico and made his men get off there and disassemble their ships and take off all their supplies. Broke the ships down, burned them on the beaches, and that was their sign there. They were going to make it there. They were going to die trying. We use the same sense in business and entrepreneurship. Like, when you start up something, you're going to make it there. You're going to die trying to do it, you know. You get up one more time and you fall down. You know, what was that emotion for
Love
you?
That.
What was that emotion like for you? When you went in and it's like, screw it, I'm just going to go all in and start up on this again?
Well, I'm at a different time of my life, you know. Mostly Mutz was, you know, I was young and energetic, and I feel like I made my mark there. This is more fun, not fun. This is more, just more relaxing and not as much pressure. I'm not going to die doing it. You know, I'm not going to go to that.
Right.
Now, I guess what I need to work on is, you know, I have a vice president right now, Kelly, is I just want to make sure that when I die, that somebody continues it. And maybe they'll take it nationally. And maybe it might not be me.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm happy helping my own community.
Right.
We normally help our community here. But when Hurricane Helene hit, we ended up raising $10,000 in October because the fourth Friday happened to be on my birthday.
Awesome.
So everybody I know gave me $10, you know, and some people gave way more than $10.
Right.
And one of the Brothers Wolf Rescue, which is in Asheville, it was on the river. They evacuated all the dogs out, thank goodness. But the next day, the shelter was down the river. They
Completely
have nothing. Gone. So they're setting up in foster care, and so we just purchased a ton of kennels and all kinds of supplies to set up their fosters. So I'm kind of satisfied with what I'm doing now. I just want to keep helping with the $100 bills and a few thousand.
Absolutely.
But if this could ever be like $1 million thing or multi-million-dollar thing, somebody else is probably going to have to do it, but unless I get some major sponsors. I mean, that would be awesome if I could get some major sponsors. I have some wonderful sponsors now, just for the Fourth Fridays, and I appreciate anybody who's a sponsor. Go on our website, musicalcharities.org. You'll see the sponsors and anybody who wants to become a sponsor.
Absolutely.
We'd appreciate it.
You know what? I think I got a really good connection. We're going to call him when we get done with this podcast,
Okay,
actually.
cool.
So we'll do that. But I'm going to leave you to
thank you so much.
give the people the last word.
Well, I just encourage everybody to find a very legitimate organization, even like an animal rescue. There's so many that are not legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research. Find out where your money is going, your hard-earned money.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to get to the right places. Support musical charities, and you will absolutely know that your money's being helping in the community. We have 3 daisies. This one represents the musicians because that's our number one goal. Our number one goal. Musicians are always asked to play for free at charity events. Musicians are a charity.
Right.
They're always starving.
Right.
And then COVID knocked them even flatter. Mm-hmm. So we pay our musicians if they're professionals. We make sure we pay them. We don't even allow them to do it for free.
Right.
And then this one is for the people that are in the audience and donating and buying raffle tickets. And then this one is our beneficiary. So we are win-win-win.
Yeah.
You've heard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the 3 daisies on the shirt a lot, about every Thursday, and I've never thought to ask that.
Maybe I should do that on my 16th.
You
I'm coming up with my spiel. Maybe I'll.
You should. That's a good. That's
March
a good one.
20th is my speech. So.
That's a good one. But no, all Paige's stuff will be linked down below for you guys. Go donate to Musical Charities. Check them out. If you want to sponsor, definitely reach out. We'll have everything for her linked down below. Her email, how to contact her, and
if anybody has a beneficiary or knows of a family or that needs help or whatever, reach out.
We'd love to help you guys out. So once again, thank you guys for joining us. Paige, thank you so much for sitting down with me and burn the ship.
Thank you.